Hello friends. Now in my previous video I showed you how to test the analog input and digital output. In this case was motors I had. Now I want to take a look at the software end of it now, the best I can. I have the analog input. Let's test that. That's the first thing I tested. And this software is coming from the Arduino sketches library. They call the program sketches. And first thing I have to do is I want to make sure that I have connected properly. The computer is connected serial port to the Arduino, and to do that, otherwise I won't be able to send any or download any program in there. So the connection is important. So first thing to check is to check the COM port, and then notice that here is COM4 assigned for the Arduino. So I have to set that at first. Okay, now that's done. What I want to do is I want to look at the software. Here's the name of it, and I'm using integer. The sense pen equals 3. Notice what I'm doing is I am using analog input 3 and naming it in English sense pen. So every time you see a sense pen, you know it's talking about the analog input 3. Now if I wanted to, for example, use a different thing, for example, I could call this sense pen 3, and then I could call it sense pen 0, sense pen 1, sense pen 2, and I can identify each ones by analog inputs. So I'm calling them different names, the analog inputs, see? But in this case here, since I'm using only one input, I really don't have to put anything in there after sense pen. So sense pen equals to 3 means I'm looking at the analog input in 3. That's the only thing I'm testing. Now next thing I want to do is I want to do some setup. The setting up in this case is to set up the baud rate, the speed of the transfer, 9600 baud. And here's where the program actually starts, and here's kind of ends. But there's a loop going on there, and the loop is basically happening is, notice here is the open parentheses right there. And we'll see what it does in this case here. We see that it says serial print analog in. So what I'm doing is I am just sending analog in text into the output, in this case here, which is the computer. So I can see where it says analog in English. Now that I see it, and in front of the analog in is going to be the analog read, which is what? Which was the sense pen. The sense pen, notice, is going to be I3. And then I'm going to wait about 1000 millisecond is 1 second. So I'm waiting 2 seconds. Okay, so first thing is, we verify the program is correct, and after it's verified, then we upload it. Okay, so I'm going to upload it now. And there's some green lights on the bottom there, which once it's finished, it tells you then it's done uploading. Okay, so when it's done uploading, that's a good sign. Next thing is to actually go ahead and test it. So I am now going to the tools again, and since I already had that connected properly, I'm going to take a look at the serial monitor now. What's going to happen here, you're going to see the text saying analog in, and what is it looking at? Is looking at the input. Let's take a look at it. It's looking at the analog in. Now let's keep reading, and it's reading, in this case, 1005 constantly. Now if I put something in front of that, notice it just changed to a lower number. In this case here is 15, and when I remove my hand from there, it jumps to 1005. So I have a range of 15 to 1005 or so. So here's I have the range on that proximity sensor. I can adjust that, as I mentioned before, adjustable. Okay, now that I have that done, I want to go ahead and perhaps look at all the other ones as well. So I'll go back and I will look at another piece of, in this case here, analog pins. Now here it's very similar situation, except I'm gonna test all the pins now this time around. If you remember, I had connected 5 or 4 rather analog inputs. Now let's take a look at this one here. See, I'm saying sense pin 0 is I0 or analog 0, and then sense pin 1 is 1, sense pin 2 is 2, and sense pin 3 is 3. So I'm looking at 4 inputs, 0 through 3. Again, same thing, 9600 baud. What I'm doing now is basically doing the same thing. Now that I want to do is I want to print the correct identification of the correct input. So here, for example, once I determine which was which, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it and put it in there. I'm going to say the front line. The front line is actually the bottom. There's a sensor in the bottom that detects the line. So I'm looking at that one first, and then I'm telling it to wait 2 seconds. Okay. Then check the front. I have another sensor in front called front proximity. Okay, check that. Now notice here after the sense pin 0, so pin 0 happens to be the front line, and pin 3 happens to be the front proximity. And same thing happens here now, 2 seconds of delay here. And then I'm reading here that right proximity line and then left proximity line. Okay, again, very similar situation, and then just loop it back. So it keeps looking at it. Okay, it keeps looking at the all entire inputs, and when I put something in front of those, it should change. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and upload that program. It looks like it's first it's compiling and it's uploading, and it says done uploading. So let's take a look and see what the result is going to be like. Okay, notice that what's going to say is that, if you look closely, is that actually is going to say in English, identify each one: right, left, front line, front proximity. Notice they're all saying around 1002, 1003. See? Now let's go ahead and try test one of them. Now I'm going to take a look at the right sensor. So I'm blocking the right sensor, and take a look at the right sensor where it comes around. See, it says right proximity line, it says 15, you see. Then it goes to the other ones, and so it keeps saying prox. So the right is reading 16, and it goes up to 1005, and that seems to be the range of it. Now I'm going to go ahead and block in this case here, the left sensor. So take a look here, it says left sensor, and it says left. Now notice the left line just went down to 16, so it means that it's sensed. Again, same basically range. Now I'm gonna go on the front sensor or proximity sensor, and notice the front, it is front proximity sensor went down to 16, so it checks that. Now let me take a look at the in this case here, line sensor. So here I'm removing the line sensor and see if I will get any reading there. Yeah, I think you see the front line sensor just went down to 17, indicating that, okay, it reads the front line sensor. So front line sensor, frankly, could use some adjustment there. Front line sensor. Okay, so we measured and we looked at all the inputs. See? All right. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the motor. What I'm going to do is first put in there the two different programs. One of them motor 1 and 2, one motor 3. This way I don't have to confuse which is which, so I have the two motors, motor 1 and 2, identify motor 1 and 2, and I'm going to take a look at it. And again, you can use the same thing that I'm using here and just kind of add on to it, and to make it, if you want to take a look at all four at the same time, which not really advisable to do. Let's take a look at see what I'm doing here. It's the name of the program or sketch. Now, what you have to know is that you have to include from the library of the motor shield, because this would be like a driver. Without the driver, basically, it won't see that board that piggybacks on the Arduino. So you must include the motor shield, in this case here, the library of it, and it's in there. They send, you can send, they send it free, and all you gotta do is download it. So I'm also including here the utilities of the pulse width of the same motor shield. Now, once I include basically the motor shield, what I would do next is to identify the motors. Now here I'm saying that, okay, we have motors 1, we have motor 2, 3, and 4. So for me to take a look at the first motor, I am calling this one my motor, okay, my motor, and I'm putting in front of it in parentheses 1. So that's motor 1. Okay, I can do the same thing for motor 2. I'm going down there and I'm identifying, in this case here, I'm calling it my other motor. This is a difference between one motor versus the other motor. Okay, I'm just calling one motor and the other one called my other motor, just to make it different. You can call it anything you want. And I'm going to call that one 2. So we have 1 and we have 2, and these are the two motors we're actually testing. So what I did here was basically to include the drivers, and then I identified the motors. In this case here, motor 1, motor 2. Now that these are identified, then I'm going to do basically I have this set up here, just to, what I'm going to do. I'm going to, run forward both of them, and I'm going to release both of them. I'm going to make them go backward, okay? Those are the things I'm going to do. Alright, so let's take a look at it. Now here's where the program starts. I'm going to, first thing I'm doing is, I'm running my motor forward with a speed of 70. My other motor is going forward, speed of 70. Then I'm waiting 1, 2, 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, going forward, I'm going to release it. This way we'll stop for 3 seconds. Then I'm going to go forward, speed of 70, 3 seconds. Well, finally I'm going to release it and then go forward one more time. Wait 3 seconds, stop. Now at this point here, I really want to go backward. So here I'm going to start after waiting 3 seconds. I'm going to say run backward. Notice here I'm changing it to 210, which is the 3 times the speed of going forward. And so I'm going backward. Which ones? My motor and my other motor. They're both going backward the speed 210 and delay of 3 seconds. After that's happened, then I'm going to go ahead and release it and wait 3 seconds and then do it all over again. So that's basically how I am running these motors. Okay, it's a very simple thing, like I asked you before. It's just a matter of going forward, reverse, and they're very, very English and friendly program, I would call. Now let's take a look at motor 2, motor 3 and 4. So I'm going to hit back. I'm going to go to the other one, which is motor 3 and 4. And I do the same thing here, but just repetition, not going to hurt anything. So I'm going over, take a look at it one more time. Now notice here again, I am setting up the drivers. I'm identifying the motors here. In this case, notice it's 3 this time. And then I'm going to use the same concept 4 this time. So after I chose, in this case here, set that up at the beginning, then I'll go ahead and run the program the same as I did before. The only difference between here is going to be, my motors and my other motor is going to be motor 3 and 4. The rest is basically the same. Okay, so I hope that clarified a little bit, and if there's any question, you can always send it to the website there or my video, and I try to get back to you. Alright, have a good one.